Hi guys, my name is Zoe Gatino Hadevi and I'm here to present the first final presentation of this Capstone project. We have now gotten to a point where we were able to give names to our project. Mine is called the Moon Hung John Library and it's part of the University of Pennsylvania. So to start with the project, we had to identify problems that we're going to then build up to a solution through our design. So when looking at the libraries in the world, and academic libraries especially, there was already a feeling back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, especially the 70s and 80s, that with emerging technologies and the development of internet, libraries were going to go obsolete. And then as time passed, it was proven, you can see it around you, libraries are not obsolete, they're still around, people are still using them. However, the users' needs have evolved and the design of the libraries have not necessarily evolved with it. The primary change was the change in information access. So that's to do with technology. You can see some of the diagrams that I've put up of how people use the digital world of the connectivity through the internet, through smartphones, and just wirelessly connected between 2000, which was only 15 years ago, and now, and there has been a massive increase with that. There has been studies that show that people feel a little bit helpless without their smartphones or without their computer. They're so used to getting their information right at the touch of their fingers that when it's not accessible or not readily available to them, they're a little bit lost. So for the symbol and role of libraries, traditionally they're known as the repository of knowledge. They're gateways to knowledge and culture. Their goal is to support literacy and education and showcase the accumulation of knowledge that has been created by past generations. It is also widely thought as a centralized location for information and knowledge access. The impact of libraries, I studied it specifically through the study of Keith Curry Lentz, who looks at the impact of libraries in Illinois from primary, secondary, high school, and post-secondary libraries, and the impact it has on the students, the staff, and the institution, depending on the level of development. So he shows through his study that the size of the library with the staff and the collection, the level of development, which also means the amount of expenditure the institution will put into the library and how much they're willing to spend for that space, and the use of instructional technology, which is computers, media, anything that is digitally connected, has a massive impact on the success of the library, which in turn has a very big impact on the student scores. He shows that if all these elements come together individually or collaboratively, the student scores are significantly improved, and both the faculty and the staff of the library also find benefit with the success of this. So for the stakeholder and users of this specific project, you have 5 different groups, mainly the students, the faculty, the staff, and then indirectly the public and the institution. The students, the faculty, and the public benefit from an access to information and knowledge. So what my project is attempting to do is shifting the idea of the library as a traditional repository of knowledge to the space where you can not only access and share information and knowledge, but also create it. The staff benefits from the design and the dissemination of this information. There's more for them to do with the faculty, with the students, and how to teach appropriately these new technologies that are emerging so that everybody benefits to the best of the abilities. And the institution finally is put at the, The institution finally is put at the forefront of to the public side, to the general global scale. There's a positive impact as the University of Pennsylvania will be at the forefront of innovation, trying to showcase a cutting edge space through the new design and the new approach to an academic library. So Professor Bernard Fisher says the research library will survive because of the introduction of ever more new digital technologies, not in spite of it. This is what my project statement stems from. How do I, as an interior designer, create a space where collaboration is enhanced through the implementation of technologies for the users? Since the last time we talked, I've developed a little bit more my project, which also included choosing a client, and I chose the University of Pennsylvania, especially the Wharton School of Business, and they're coming into Hong Kong, building a campus on a specific site, and I'll be designing their library. So the University of Pennsylvania is the most published business school in the world. It has 3 campuses and various academic departments, and also a very significant amount of faculty and students. Their library on all 3 campuses hold 6.19 million book volumes, a lot of different print material, as well as ebooks, e-journals, subscriptions. They have images and videos, so it just showcases how valuable their collection is, how much importance they put into their library for their users, mainly the students. They're also, one of their core values is the excellent research they publish worldwide through the students and the faculty, and through the grants that are funding these users. So the University of Pennsylvania is also following a trend that is emerging in universities across the world, where there used to be a shift to go for Southeast Asia to go to the Western world, and now the Western world is coming to Asia, trying to really tap into the market of this massive population they have here. The University of Pennsylvania, their #1 international students are Asian. For the site selection, I chose the Sham Shui Po neighborhood for different reasons. Not only has a lengthy history dating back nearly 2,000 years ago, more recently it went through a massive fire and the Sham Shui Po neighborhood was completely rebuilt. There's various places of interest. As you can see on the map, hopefully, there's already public libraries and academic libraries nearby or in their neighborhood, as well as 3 main universities. It also presents a variety of tactile and more virtual aspects that were interesting for the project. There's a varied population between 15 and 65-year-old. There's a major attendance in schools, as it's one of the most densely populated neighborhoods in Hong Kong. These are the places of interest I was showing on the building. You can recognize our campuses on it. And then there's also textural qualities that add a tactile environment and context to the project. For the site, I chose the Jockey Club Creative Arts Center that is right around the corner from us. I chose it for a variety of reasons. The building itself is appropriate for the project as a university campus if it was completely designed, and so I'm selecting one floor to go through with my project. The building offers a variety of exterior views. It's in a quiet but yet busy environment, and I'm showing on this diagram the noisy areas, the views it has, and the circulation that exists through the building. So we're going to get a little bit more technical. The building itself is a construction type 2. Its current occupancy type is 5A, which is an assembly and the projected occupancy type is going to be 5B, which is more specific to libraries. The occupancy load calculated on the floor area that is usable will be of 950 maximum occupants. It has 10 levels, including a basement and a rooftop. It's spaced with column-based spacing on the inside and has a restricted ceiling height of 2,500 millimeters. So here I'm showing the different staircases that are all egress compliant, and the bathrooms in blue and the ADA bathroom in red, as well as the lifts in green. There are various constraints and limitations. The one I mentioned, the primary one I mentioned is the ceiling height. It's a very low ceiling, and it will challenge the concept. But there's room for future expansion. There's a central atrium in the JCCAC, which creates a circular motion of circulation, and the future expansion could definitely use. Right now, all the tenants in the building are concentrated around the atrium and leave this balcony around the building, not utilizing the whole floor space. We had to select some precedent projects to evaluate through different criteria. I chose 3. The Bibliothèque Sainte-Geneviève in France because of its traditional value as a library and the traditional symbol it had. The Mohawk College in Canada because it's a floor that was designed to be collaborative. And then the Hong Kong University Library, which I had the chance to visit and had a tour where they explained not only the collections and all the different services they offer, but also the Learning Commons, which is where the main collaborative spaces exist. Although we went through 5 criteria, the 3 that were most relevant and that kept showing up actually in the process of the project was the collections, the collaboration versus individual, and the public versus private. So what I mean by collection is the variety of collection that is presented through the space and in their floor plan. So you have archive and references, e-catalogs and browsing, and then physical volumes. So archive references are in purple, the technology part is in blue, and the free circulation, the physical volumes are in green for all the diagrams. And so you can see that there's a very significant approach to how they display their collection, and this ultimately impacts the use of the library. Then going through collaboration versus individual, just showcasing how the first 2, which are the Bibliothèque Sainte-Geneviève and the Mohawk College, don't offer as much variety as the Hong Kong University. Hong Kong University really puts forward another aspect, which is breakout and a space to socialize in the library. And then the public versus private part shows that all these libraries have very broken areas that don't really connect and don't really go for the collaborative aspect and the connectivity of these areas. Through the programming phase, I identified 3 main components for my personal project. So here you have miscellaneous, learning commons, and collections. By miscellaneous, it was the offices, the counters, and the storage. Learning commons is then broken down into focusing, which is the study zones, collaboration, which is a variety of zones. There's group study, telepresence, technology zones, shared workstations. Socializing is the aspect that I was referring to in the Hong Kong University, where there's a more informal collaboration happening. And then specialized is directly related to the University of Pennsylvania, as it's a business school and they need digital media lab and a business lab, and it's one of their requirements. For the collections, no library can forego them. So you have the volumes, which is the more all the paper materials, and then the digital part. I then broke these down into 4 different criteria. Again, public versus private, the amount of noise that these areas have, the distribution of light, and the exterior views they could have and should have depending on where they are in the space. With the previous diagram, we then developed a adjacency diagram, and I'm trying to showcase how my design takes a different approach from traditional libraries by connecting all the spaces together and offering a way to really use all of them and not put them into different categories that are very separate from one another. So again, I'm evaluating the public versus private and the noise volume. These are better shown when put in the space. So that's in red, you can see it's the floor plan, and then you have the different areas that are distributed among the floor plan. There's 2 faces of the building that offers distinctive exterior views, which are then used for the collaborative and the study areas. The technology is spread around, and the collection, which is the main big circle that circles everything, just shows that the collections should not be in specific areas, but rather throughout the whole space. So for the school, because of its excellence and in the world and how well it's known, there was limited creative freedom to the brand. They already have a very developed brand. So I used the same shield, but adapted it to Hong Kong and tried to streamline it. And then I'm showcasing the typography they use through their projects. On the right, you can see there's a Wharton University of Pennsylvania, then the library's logo, and then the color palette and the library's logo is used to create a visual language for the different spaces that are offered through the space. For my design concept, I've so far used the University of Pennsylvania brand identity, which is the power of knowledge and the impact it has on the world. But I'm also trying to showcase through the design how, with collaboration, with individual spaces, with technology, the design can be changed to offer an innovative space. So to conclude, I just want to reiterate my project statement and goals. The project will ultimately create a space where the symbol of the library shifts from a space known as the repository of knowledge to a space where knowledge and information is accessed, shared, and created through an emphasis on collaboration and connectivity between physical elements and its users. I will thank you again for being here today and listening to me. If you have any questions, feedback, or suggestions, the floor is yours.